And thanks to the voters, you know, all of you who have voted for our parks levy in 2000 and 2008, $16 million from those two levies has gone into making this park a reality. So again, I want to say thanks to the generosity of those of you who have voted yes for our parks. Many of you know that I have been very excited about creating neighborhood greenways around our city. And the neighborhood greenways are non-arterial streets that are connecting our neighborhoods to places where we want to go. Whether it's a park like this, our libraries, our community centers, and this is going to be another hub. And I don't know whether Dylan Ahern is here or not today, but Dylan and Beacon Bikes have made such a difference for this community. So I want to say thank you to Beacon Bikes as well. I understand that the 4 tennis courts, the 2 that have been resurfaced and the 2 new ones have been absolutely jam-packed since they opened up. We're glad to see that. The solar shelters are remarkable to me, that we've got solar, even in a cloudy day, that we've got solar that is going back into the grid, and we thank you for those electrons that we're not having to create through natural gas or otherwise. And this is just a really momentous day. Appreciate all of you coming out, and I get the privilege now of introducing Kevin Stoops, who is our Parks Finance Director. Normally our good friend Christopher Williams would be joining us, but he's not able to today. So please welcome Kevin Stoops.
Thank you, Councilmember Bagshaw. This site's been transformed from a relatively unknown area to a vast and beautiful open space with vistas and various opportunities for passive and active recreation. As Councilmember Bagshaw and Mayor McGinn noted, this transformation has taken the efforts of a number of city departments, all working together. The success of Jefferson Park is also in part due to the work of all the citizens in terms of both passing the levies in 2000 and 2008, but also the work here of the actual neighborhood on Beacon Hill, and especially the Jefferson Park Alliance. They have all made sure that their interests were represented to park staff and to the designers who've created this park. Great designers listen to the needs of a community when they design a park, and I'd like to recognize several of the design firms that were involved in this effort. Those includes the Berger Partnership for the Olmsted-inspired design of the park, D.A. Hogan for the design of the Jefferson Playfield, which I understand is the home of a champion ultimate frisbee team from Asa Mercer School. Thank you to Grindline and the Berger Partnership for the design of the skate park. The skate park here at Jefferson is the deepest bowl in Seattle. And finally, thank you to SVR for the design of the Beacon Mountain, which will open a little bit later today. The plans for the park have actually been put into reality by the efforts of some very talented construction contractors, including Mid-Mountain, TF Solly, LW Sundstrom, and various subcontractors. It's my privilege to recognize some really outstanding Seattle Parks and Recreation staff who've been involved in the planning, design, and construction management of this park. Those include the efforts of Don Bullard, who once upon a time worked on the master plan for the park, R. Frank Robinson, who worked on the site plan, Kim Baldwin for the incredible work on the skateboard park, Mohan Kandakar for the design of the restroom facilities, and Andy Sheffer, who coordinated the overall project here at the final stages through construction and overall coordination. The features in this park, the Samoan cricket pitch, Beacon Mountain, the skate bowl, and others are all a testimony to their drive and determination to help create this special place. I'd also like to note that an incredible feature of any great park is public art. The Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs collaborated with us on the design of this park, and I'd like to introduce Public Art Director Rory Yampolsky.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you all for coming out today to support this park and a new work which has been added to the City of Seattle's public art collection, an artwork by Elizabeth Connor. Elizabeth, can you wave? Elizabeth's artworks titled Drawing the Land and Painting and Sculpting the Land join our collection that now numbers close to 2,800 portable artworks and 380 permanently sited artworks throughout the city. This project was funded with Seattle Parks and Recreation 2000 levy 1% for art and construction funds and Seattle Public Utilities 1% for art funds. We thank these departments for their ongoing partnership, and we thank the mayor and the council for their support, and we thank the community as well for their collaboration. This project is just one example of how the Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs works to enrich the lives of Seattle residents and visitors by infusing our lives with arts and culture everywhere we go. And it's not just for entertainment value, though, however. We recently announced the results of a study by the Americans for the Arts that found that in Seattle alone, nonprofit arts and arts organizations generate over $447 million in annual economic activity. They support over 10,000 full-time equivalent jobs and return more than $38 million to local and state government revenues. The arts mean business in Seattle. And public art means creating meaningful spaces in Seattle. Using concrete, plant material, and earth, artist Elizabeth Connor worked with landscape architects to create an artwork that responds to the site's transformation and that celebrates the community history and the history of Beacon Hill. The artwork also expresses some of the natural processes that occur here on the site. Please stick around. You'll have an opportunity to meet Elizabeth in just a few minutes and get her take on the artworks. So we will be having tours at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, just starting over here at the tent. So, so thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Rory. Now I'd like to introduce to you a local fixture, Frederica Merrill, who is also the wife of Robert Hendricks. She has authored Seattle's Beacon Hill with Mira Latasic, and this book chronicles the history of Beacon Hill, and she is an avid community and park activist. So right now, Frederica Merrill.
Look what we did, Beacon Hill! Look what we did! I can't believe it! And it took a lot of people. It takes a big village to build a park like this. Yeah, this is our child. Now I'm gonna tell you a sad story to start, so don't cry, because we know it all comes out okay in the end. When I moved to Beacon Hill in the mid-'80s, I was in my 20s. I was a Montessori preschool teacher and a new low-income city resident. So I moved to Beacon Hill. I went looking for my local park and my community that would be gathering there to play. I headed for the trees. But I circled the tree-laden historic Olmsted golf courses at Jefferson looking in from the outside, searching for a free public oasis of trees and grass, a playfield, something I could love, of a nature or recreational experience. And in my perplexing walks, I experienced miles, literally miles, of rusted barbed wire fence. It is sad. Surrounding every facility, including acres of well-maintained but inaccessible green grass around the water reservoirs, and an imprisoned community center with no field area, no gym, and aging infrastructure. Okay, yeah, this was sad. I explored with my neighbors. I got them out on the walks, and we faced impossible walking conditions. Graffiti-laden aging maintenance buildings, blackberry brambles, groves of invasive Scotch broom, a rarely used broken rusting merry-go-round next to dusty, busy Beacon Avenue, where winter parking was an unpaved median with puddles and mud. How many of you remember that? Yeah. That was 20 years ago, yeah. There were two aged and crippled apple trees holding out alone in a narrow, long fenced corridor connecting the community center and all those children at Asa Middle School. Do you guys remember walking that corridor? This was Jefferson Park in the mid-1980s and early 90s. In its most base condition, an abandonment public mission, Jefferson Park at that time was not even listed on any city map. It was only called the Jefferson Golf Course because the golf courses were very important. The park element had been eliminated from city history completely at that time. But luckily, history is recorded by other people. At that same time, I read a very important book that I recommend to you by Japanese author Monika Sone called Nisai Daughter. She described her childhood experiences of picnics in Jefferson Park with hundreds of families, an annual event, as we've heard, held every May. And in the years before World War II, they played ball, they had games, they shared food under the trees, they walked the perimeter of the water reservoirs to take in the views. These two completely contradictory experiences that I learned about generated in me a long-lasting 25-year rage of energy. On behalf of my community, my friends, and my own family, and I dragged everyone into it that I possibly could. We went back to the Olmsted design, and we went forward with community ideas, and we all have reconstructed Jefferson Park. Whoa! I have, in the last week, completed a list of all the people who I can remember, now that's not everybody, but all the people who I can remember who joined and took part in our work to restore a lost park. Through endless numbers of neighborhood planning meetings and design meetings, interviews for our beautiful history book that Myra and I wrote, hands-on planting projects, grant writing, the design of the Beacon Mountain Play Area, which is going to open up at 12:30 to those people who want to go through the water, and the work of the Beacon Hill Food Forest, which is going to get built over the next 10 years and supply food for the whole city. We did public organizing, we did petitioning, we did surveying, we did speaking, we did parades, we did art projects, we did it all. Congratulations to all of these people. Woo! We successfully wakened a sleeping city so that they can join us and dedicate tens of millions of dollars necessary to cover the reservoir and to build this new park. I wrote them down, everyone I could remember, but they are coming by the day to volunteer up here and will continue to volunteer to take care of the park. There were a dozen city council members involved in this: Nick Licata, Richard Conlon, Sally Clark, Peter Steinbrook, Tom Rasmussen, and our friend Cheryl Chow, who is from this neighborhood. All of those people get special mention. There were, in my count, 8 consultant design firms, some of which have been mentioned: Marassi, SVR, Burgo, Portico, Friends of Olmsted, other organizations. The Veterans Hospital was there at the table with us, Beacon Bikes, Alta Planning. There were, in my count, 4 mayors. Norm Rice started us on this journey when he decided people should have urban villages. Paul Schell, who helped with the first Pro Parks levy, Greg Nichols, who agreed to cover the reservoirs, and Mayor McGinn, who's going to build us a beautiful